Good evening, guys. It is Thursday night, generational change, and I am alone once again for only a few minutes. Hope everybody's doing well today. I am Peter Hager, for those of you who may not know. Obviously, we appreciate everyone who is here already, getting ready for a show tonight that is going to cover a lot of ground, and I mean a lot of ground. There is a million... Happy Friday, Junior. Yeah, I would say that Thursday has a feel. I would say every day of the week has a particular feel to it. Thursday's always been one of my favorite days of the week. I know what to expect on Friday. Friday has its own feel. I would say that Sunday definitely has its feel. Monday has its feel. I think the middle days of the week are the ones that you just can never tell which day it is. But hope you guys are all doing great. It is obviously great to have you all here as always. And as you know, our channel is growing every day. So we are extremely grateful for everyone that is here. Even I'm surprised at how quickly our channel is growing. So what I will say is that right now, believe it or not, we are 204 subscribers away from 28,000 subscribers. So we have been able to secure since Monday an additional 800 subscribers. I know for some channels that may not seem like a lot. In fact, it may seem like very little. But for our small but mighty channel, it is obviously an exceptional amount of growth in such a short period of time. And we have each and every one of you to thank for doing just that. And so over time, hopefully this will become a greater level of consistency. Now, I was anticipating, guys, I was actually going to say that our goal was to get to 30,000 subscribers by the time we got to the 4th of July. I may be getting a little ahead of myself, but I'm going to say that if we have a real lofty expectation of a goal right now, it would be to somehow, some way, get to 30,000 subscribers by the time Jen gets back. And we officially launch our next iteration of our small but mighty channel. Thank you very much, Lion Atlas. And if you all would smash the like button, that is going to help this conversation get out to a lot more people. So who do we have this evening? I'm sure you guys have noticed that we haven't put up anybody specifically pertaining to who our guests are going to be. Well, we're going to have two guests this evening. And we may even have two guests on Monday. Monday, we are going to have our good friend Steve Grumbine from the Real Progressives. And then on Thursday, our last show before Jen returns, we're going to have our old friend Kit Cabello from Hard Lens Media. He will be joining us. And so, thank you, Robert. Everybody who hits the like button, you have my gratitude and appreciation. So this evening, who do we have on the docket? Who is going to be joining us? Well, you guys probably remember my old friend Osiris from the Stuck in the Middle podcast. He's been a guest on our channel a few times before. It's been a long time since we've had the chance to chat with him, and he's also not been live streaming as of late. So he was actually very happy to get the message last week that we were looking forward to having him on the podcast this week. And I also invited somebody who you guys have not met before, my friend, Jen's friend, Anthony Paz, who was a tremendous help, influence, and fixture on both of Jen's congressional runs in South Florida. And he has some very strong opinions in the political sphere. Some you're going to agree with, some you're not going to agree with. But I think it's always good to have as many unique voices in the conversation as we possibly can. We cannot and must not continue the trend of avoiding conversations with people that we disagree with. We're seeing it right now as strongly as ever. And so, where did I want to open this evening? Where did I think it would be necessary for us to have a conversation before our guests arrive? Well, for those of you who do not follow us on social media, I would encourage you guys to do the following if you could. We are at Generational Change on YouTube, but also on Instagram, also on TikTok, also on X. Those are our three primary social media channels outside of Generational Change on YouTube. Now, this post I made earlier today on behalf of our team. And for those of you who are new, I think that's a fair way of describing her macrograms. Jen Perlman ran for Congress in both 2020 and 2024 against one of Netanyahu's greatest acolytes, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I only bring her up because she just does not seem to want to get away from the spotlight. She continues to seek it, and this photograph with Netanyahu was taken last month. So to say that this person has zero shame in her support of a genocide, well, that would be an understatement. She is a proud genocidal supporter of the Jewish state of Israel, as she so eloquently describes it. Debbie has been a confidant of the highest order of Netanyahu, not overnight, but of somebody that has been supporting him since she walked into Congress over 20 years ago. So this has been a long, incredibly intimate relationship between these two people. Well, why am I talking about Debbie Wasserman Schultz? She decided that she's going to stick her nose where it doesn't belong once again regarding what's going on with immigration, talking about Trump, talking about how this was a crisis that Trump was creating as a bigger problem than it already was. Well, guess what? And this should come as no surprise to anybody. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is one of the 75 Democrats who just signed the resolution thanking and appreciating ICE for their efforts. Speak on the side of one side of the mouth, speak on the other side, still gets back to the same general conclusion, which is Wasserman Schultz is the embodiment of everything that is wrong with our political system. Debbie Wasserman Schultz doesn't just represent a congressional district in South Florida dominated by Zionist money and voting power. She represents the embodiment of the Israel lobby's unholy dominance over our economic and political way of life here in the U.S. Today, I cast my vote in favor of the Iran Sanctions Extension Act, a bipartisan piece of legislation that is intended to bolster the safety and security of the U.S. and her allies, including the Jewish state of Israel. Would you care to guess when Wasserman Schultz put forward this statement and cast this vote? 2016. So she has been itching for a war with Iran for quite some time, pushing hard for that war. Colin, if you will, please scroll down. So she voted yes on HR 6297. And as we have all been observing over the past 24 hours, Israel does appear poised to attack Iran and draw us into a world war. So I ask you all this question. Would you send your child off to this war to die for an Israel first, America last politician like DWS? This is a person that has voted yes for every war that she has been involved in Congress with. Iraq, Afghanistan, Venezuela, Syria, Ukraine, Yemen, and I think I may have forgotten Somalia as well. Above all else, DWS is a fierce advocate for the genocide of the Palestinian people by Israel. She was also, as I mentioned, one of the 75 Dems who just voted yes on the approval of the actions of ICE, even though she wants to put social media posts out there pretending like she's condemning Trump for what he's doing. For the corporate Democrats, Donald Trump was the greatest gift that was ever given to them. And nobody enjoys playing the I'm against Trump card harder than somebody as grotesque and despicable as somebody like DWS. Colin, if you will, a little bit further down. And this is the exact words that Jen wanted me to post on her behalf today. History will show ICE is an unconstitutional entity created by a lawless rogue nation to use against its own people to protect corporate interests. There is no bigger corporate interest than the U.S. economy's unholy alliance with Israel. Make no mistake, DWS is a traitor to the Constitution and the American people, period. We must sever ties with our greatest ally now. I think we can all agree that this is imperative that we do. And Colin, if you would be so kind, please scroll the additional images. Let's not forget that Wasserman Schultz has taken a whopping just a shade under $1 million from the Israel lobby. And again, that's what we know of on paper. But as we see, there is no limit. And I'm not saying she's the only one. I think we could fairly say that as guilty as she is, and she's guilty, there are certainly worse, or I don't even necessarily say worse, but she's not alone. There are a lot of people out there that are just as whorish, if you will, for them as possible. So that in itself is a problem. And I remind you all that as long as these are elected officials, it will never, ever get better until we get rid of them. So I don't know how much more people are going to be willing to put up with. But I know that as of right now, it's going to get worse before it gets better. And people like Wasserman Schultz are going to double down on the absurdity of their political ideology, which I do believe is breaking. I do believe that right now, Zionism, it's not in its death throes at this moment, but it's getting there. And I do believe that with the two gentlemen who are joining me this evening, we will be able to show you guys that even though there are political differences, that there are differences of opinion about a lot of key issues in our daily lives today, there are core issues that I would like to believe we universally agree on. We agree that endless war is bullshit. We agree that single-payer healthcare is a lot better than what we have right now. We all agree that we should have clean drinking water and air to breathe. We should all be able to have economic opportunity, learn a trade. We do not want to live in a country where we're dependent on the government to survive. And my God, do we need to cut ties with the state of Israel. So with that said, for the very first time, and hopefully not the last time, he is not only a great political commentator, he is also a personal friend who gave a lot of his life, his time and effort to help Jen when very few others would. And he is a testament to what real political loyalty, if that even is a word, actually exists. Not based on money, but based on policy and passion. And that is my friend, Anthony Paz. Welcome to Generational Change.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me. I can't believe it's the first time, actually, after all these years.
After all these years, first time, but won't be the last.
Absolutely.
But, I can only imagine how much people are giving you grief for your growing beard right now. If you're thinking about any, you should see, Zoran, the guy who's running for mayor in New York City, Cuomo is doing ads now, which they're trying to accentuate his beard to make him look like he's like jihad or something like that. I mean, I tell you, man, the level of desperation when the corporate scum, start losing control, it's pretty crappy. But you're not alone tonight. Our good friend, Osiris from the Stuck in the Middle podcast, he told me he was happy to come on because he hadn't been live streaming as of late. Well, getting back into the groove, my friend. And as you probably have noticed, our channel has grown since the last time you've been here. So we're happy to have you. Osiris, welcome back to Generational Change.
Man, always great to be here with you, Peter. Feels good. It's been like 2 months. Only 2 months since I literally had to put together my studio. I took it all down just because I was moving stuff around. But man, it feels good. What's up?
Doing good, man. It's good to see you. Meet my friend Anthony Paz from Miami.
What's up, Anthony? I'm not familiar with you, but I'm sure we'll have a great discussion. How you doing?
Absolutely, brother. Everything's good. Everything's good. You have an awesome name, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Are you familiar with which name? Stuck in the Middle or Osiris?
Osiris.
Oh, are you familiar with ancient Egyptology?
I am. I'm a little familiar with it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I took a class. My name is basically it's like Osiris is a god of the dead in Egypt. I took a class in college on it, and it was so fun. So that's
I
where
always like to say that I accidentally got my bachelor's and my master's in theology. So
wow.
With me.
Before we get, I used to do underground hip hop. So then I was like, I'm the Egyptian god of the underground. So we'll keep going.
I like it. I like it.
Well, Jen always likes to refer to Anthony as the walking Jesus because he looks exactly like Jesus would.
That's true. Oh, wow.
Despite what the evangelicals have been perpetuating across this country for a very long time, Jesus looks a lot more like Osiris and Anthony than he looks like me, despite the fact of how it's been sold around the world, but particularly in this country.
Listen, brother, if you go to my grandparents' house, you look just like Jesus on their wall in Peru.
I'm sure. I'm flattered. I appreciate it. Jesus did not have blue eyes and blonde hair. I'm pretty confident in saying that. We have so many different places that we could start right now. I don't want to get into a whole conversation about this. It's my politics. That's about this, that, and the other thing. I think it should just naturally flow based on the topics that we will cover this evening. I think that is immensely important. I don't think that we can overstate how serious a problem we have right now in so many different areas of our country. It does seem to me that the issue of Israel is not just the biggest issue because it's the biggest issue in terms of what's going on with the Palestinian people. I think people are starting to recognize just how significant an issue this actually is because of how it's seeped into our daily lives, how much this has crossed over into everything that we deal with. Why do we have an over-bloated government spending problem, particularly with the military and the Pentagon? It's because of all of the components that maneuver at all times as it relates to the state of Israel. And right now, we are on the precipice. I never thought I would be saying this, but it does seem, I could be wrong, I hope I am, but that we are on the precipice of World War III. That right now, it looks like this effing Zionist genocidal nation that we have attached ourselves at the hip to, which again, religion is just a front because it's all economics. We all know that. But we are prepared to go to war in the Middle East with Iran and start World War III. I mean, I sure should hope that's not the case. But right now, it's not looking too good. What do you guys think?
Man, I'll say that I used to rep MAGA, and you might know that, Peter. And this is one of the deciding things that has caused a split, and I don't rep MAGA anymore. I thought Trump was an anti-war. I know, don't laugh. Anthony, don't laugh at me. Don't laugh. I thought Trump was an anti-war president. And that's clearly not the case. He is bought out. He is a buffoon. He's a clown. And I think he's trying to do good things, but there's too much control around him. And maybe he's trying to leverage to get this deal with Iran. But the larger issue is, why do we need a deal with Iran? I don't need any deal with Iran. I have no beef with Iran. Do you have beef with Iran? I never had beef with them. So if they have beef with me, then somebody else caused it. And I'd like to hear what you think, Anthony, but I think it's a fundamental issue. It's not just about war. It's just about, well, what's the philosophy? Why are we even worried about Iran? I understand that we don't live in a bubble in the world, but I like the China plan. China's friends with Israel. They're friends with Iran. Or you could call them frenemies, whatever you want to call them. They don't have beef like that. So why do we?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I always gave myself the freedom of swinging from left to right and being very politically curious. But I always considered myself someone who always followed the voice that was anti-war. When I was younger, I was a big Ron Paul guy. And then as I grew older, went into college, I became a big Bernie guy. And then there was really no voice after both of, I think, the most honest areas of the far left and far right that were anti-war were basically silenced and removed from the political duopoly that we see today, that is currently the uniparty. Trump, he wasn't like a refreshing person for me. He wasn't someone that I confided in right away. But after Joe Biden in 2020, I felt like there was really no other way to turn to but just letting the other side take charge and see what that might look like. And Trump always promoted himself as an anti-war guy, which his first term of office, it seemed like maybe he was an anti-war, but now it seems that they are so in bed with Israel and trying so hard to protect them that they have no choice but to be pro-war, because that is what Israel seems to be, is a pro-war nation. And if we are indebted to them in every single way, shape, and form, that we're constantly covering up for their mistakes, then it seems like then we have no choice but to be for war. This whole situation with Iran is very concerning to me, especially since going years back, I always believed that the traditional, the grand old party, the Republican Party of the 90s and 2000s always had an intention to go to war with Iran. The Democrats were always complacent, or at least kind of covertly had a personal interest in pursuing war with Iran as well. And so now we're seeing it take place, and Israel's leading the charge.
And I also think we cannot underestimate, this comes full circle with the fact that our elected officials, including Alex Medea, who tried to put on a little show in Los Angeles today, let's not forget how much of a Zionist supporter he is. Our elected officials are bought and paid for by corporate special interests. And there is no greater example of that than Trump taking $100 million from the Zionist queen herself, Miriam Adelson. Like, let's not forget that her intention is annexing the West Bank and creating greater Israel. And if that means that Iran is telling Israel, do not annex the West Bank, do not continue to move in on Turkey, Jordan, Egypt, and Syria, or we will go to war, especially with you threatening us. And Israel really is of this mindset, despite the growing fervor in our country right now, that we are not going to ever reject them, that the U.S. and Israel is forever. But I don't believe that's the case. I believe that there are serious cracks in the armor, and I believe that there is going to be a reckoning of that relationship. And it may happen sooner rather than later, as far as I can see.
Yeah, it comes to money too. You look back at the Middle East and Iran since '79, they've been working towards breaking away from America. Basically, before that, they were kind of like a vassal state, and for the oil industry and Wall Street. And since then, they've been like, no, we're our own people. So I think America is separate even from Israel. America really has beef with Iran. They don't like how they're operating. They've become too powerful, too much money, and they want to do something. I don't think this ends well, because Iran is different than Lebanon. It's different than Syria. This is not some simple thing. So I'd like to hear what you think about where this goes, but this is not going to be a simple, we couldn't even defeat the Houthis. Not that I wanted war with them, but Iran's a whole different animal.
Well, I'm going to show you guys credit to a person from the UK named Brian Berletic. Not too familiar with him, but he did a phenomenal job putting a video together yesterday pertaining to what is happening right now with Iran, why this is happening, and why this is such a dangerous situation right now.
In Iran is only possible with U.S. involvement. So do not allow them to get away with this narrative where Israel is somehow undermining the U.S. At any point, if the U.S. wishes this not to take place, it will not take place. All President Trump has to do is tell Israel, we will cut all the money we send you, billions and billions of dollars every single year. All of the weapons you are incapable of conducting military operations without, we will cut that. We will cut all of our intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance sharing with you. We will deny refueling capabilities around the region, and we will deny our air and missile defense capabilities in defense of your territory if you carry this strike out. And you know what will happen? Israel cannot possibly carry out the strike. And anything short of that is the U.S. giving Israel the green light to carry out this strike. Now, how do we know that that is the plan? Because it has been written and signed and dated policy papers stretching all the way back to 2009. This is Which Path to Persia? Options for a New American Strategy Toward Iran. It is published by the Brookings Institution. Who funds the Brookings Institution? We have several disclosures. This is from 2020. This is from 2023. This is from 2021. Various foundations, including the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Ooh! Guys, I thought that Bill Gates, because he's a huge donor to the Democratic Party, that he's one of the good billionaires. And that's what I was told. I didn't think he was a psychopathic warmonger on behalf of Israel. But, you know, what do I know? Is this breaking news to you guys too?
No, not breaking news. It's kind of funny to see the contradictions here. But I like that clip there because this is a larger thing than I think we even realize, because we're doing proxy wars everywhere. I mean, Russia. How are we going to do a proxy war with Russia? We can't even help Israel take over Gaza. They're basically leveled the place and still struggling there. And then now you're going to potentially go to Iran. How does that work?
Well, it doesn't. Anthony?
Again, I feel like this has always been the plan. I think the United States has always looked to Iran as the next thing. You know, it was with the Gulf War, and then going to Afghanistan, then going into Iraq, and now they want to go into Iran. And before, Israel wasn't as much of a factor like during the Gulf War, but it almost feels like how do I say this in a way that
political correctness?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not that I'm trying to be politically correct. It's just that it's crazy to think that having our political leaders request that Israel back down and do the right thing, or face losing funding for war, is like considered anti-Semitic. Like, you can never say or do the right thing anymore because you're constantly face this backlash of being stripped of any and all of your livelihood as a leader of a nation if you decide to go against whatever Israel says.
Yeah, but do you guys not think that amount of propaganda is starting to change? I mean, I don't give a shit, and I never did. You want to call me an anti-Semite, I don't really care. I know what the truth is, and that's all that really matters. I think that there's conscientiously been a blend, and that's what Zionism has been doing for several years, is this, it's the equating of Judaism and Zionism is one and the same. There is no separation. And we see that from the most ardent supporters of the state of Israel, that you cannot separate the two. Not allowed. If you say you don't like Israel, that means you're anti-Semitic. But I don't think that's working anymore. I don't think that is holding its water that it once did.
Yeah, ironically, it's Trump supporters who are holding it down, I think, at this point. You saw Laura Loomer. I mean, that's not a surprise. I mean, she's a Zionist, a proud Zionist. She'll talk to anybody, but supporting Palantir. Alex Jones had a segment, and he was talking about Palantir. And this is basically, I consider it a extension of Zionism is what Palantir is, the tech version of Zionism. And you see that
Let's not dive too deep into that. I got a segment lined up, all nice and sweet just for that.
I'm sorry. That's why I'm also being careful about what I'm saying. Is I don't want us to get too ahead of ourselves. You know?
No, 100%. And I also think, but I think that you're right. And I also think that there is a tremendous split in MAGA right now. Now, I think that the split is predominantly on the side of those that lean libertarian, whether left or right, for that matter. I think that's kind of where, Anthony falls. I think that's where you fall, what we have seen. And I think it's going to become more and more profound as we go forward politically. Thomas Massie is the de facto leader of the true libertarian left and right, anti-war, anti-government takeover leadership that this country so desperately needs. He may be alone, but at least you've got somebody. And I can see where, of all the people that Trump pushes on, it doesn't work on him. And the consistency of people saying, back off of Massie, we're not supporting you on this, is substantially large. When you get into people like Loomer, that's a whole other story, and we're going to get to that. But I think what we're seeing right here is the effect, the serious economic, political, social effect of people remaining silent on the issue of Israel. And how we have come to this point now where we are on the precipice of something extremely catastrophic, because people just think that they can be quiet about this and that it's just going to go away. No, it's not going away. And to the Palestinian people, we must ensure that they do not die in vain, because that, more than anything else, is what we're looking at here. And it's crossing over, as I said, into our daily lives. I mean, I know a guy, Anthony, who was a Wasserman Schultz supporter, who's a huge Zionist, who I did a segment on about a week and a half ago. I mean, this is a guy who's making posts on Instagram begging Israel to attack Iran and F Trump if he doesn't do it. Like, that's how psychopathic these people are. They really are out of sight, out of mind. And so I know I sound a little, you might even say I'm a little nuts for thinking like this, but I want to knock the Zionists out of this country. I want to do to them what they did to the Palestinians, not necessarily massacre them, but in terms of Nakba them. Hey, Canada, Mexico, you take these people. We don't want them here anymore. You Zionists think that Syria, Jordan, Egypt, Turkey, you're all responsible for the Palestinian people, or they're going to be massacred. No, that's not how it works. But since you insist that that's how it works, maybe you deserve some of your own medicine. We'll continue.
Google, MasterCard, Northrop Grumman, Facebook. Do these names sound familiar? Comcast, Daimler, Amazon, Google, here again, Ford Foundation, HSBC, financiers, George Soros's Open Society Foundation, Google again, Exxon, IBM, and of course, Lockheed Martin Corporation. So these are all of the corporate financier interests that fund both sides of any political spectrum anywhere across the West where elections take place, including especially in the United States. Kamala Harris, President Donald Trump, both of them funded by all of these corporate financier interests. When taking office, President Donald Trump has walked side by side with all of these people on his trips overseas during his inauguration. All of the bills and policies that he's passing all cater to the interests of these corporations, these financiers. They're the ones who are funding the Brookings Institution and many other think tanks like it. There's also Chapter 1, an offer Iran shouldn't refuse. Persuasion, and they're talking about diplomacy, but the diplomacy has nothing to do with actually coming to any sort of arrangement with Iran. It's all meant to create the illusion that the US tried diplomacy before resorting to war. And it says it here very explicitly. For those who favor regime change or military attack on Iran, either by the United States or Israel, these, again, they're always talking about the US and or Israel. There's a strong argument to be made for trying this option first. Inciting, so it has nothing to do with actually trying diplomacy. It just is a means of appearing to have tried diplomacy. Inciting regime change in Iran would be greatly assisted by convincing the Iranian people that their government is so ideologically blinkered that it refuses to do what's best for the people and instead clings to a policy that could only bring ruin to the country. The ideal scenario in this case is not for the US and Iran to come to some sort of agreement and make peace and coexist. That is not any option anywhere in this document or anywhere else in any other policy paper being referred to by this current administration or any administration before, and certainly any administration that come.
Exactly.
Yeah, who is that guy? I'm sorry. He's good. I like that.
Yeah, he's actually, I made a mistake. I think he's living in like Thailand or something like that. Brian Berletic. And I believe we will have a link to him in the description. Very important information, and kudos to anybody out there whose information that we share on the regular, because our goal on our show when we share other people's information is to inform. That's our job. We're not here to play gossip. We're not here to, talk shit about other channels. We're here to be as informative as we could possibly be. And when it comes to a topic like this, thank you, Nathan. He is in Malaysia. And, sometimes guys like Brian, they probably, because he was a Marine, Lord knows if he was high in the ranks and may have had access to classified information, he may have felt the need to leave the country. He may have felt the need that I've got to go somewhere in the world where I basically can just live undercover for as long as possible. And that's how this information gets out there. And this is the whole point about what do we as Americans really have access to? I still revert back to when Chris Cuomo went on national television on CNN and says, you're not allowed to read those WikiLeaks. That's against the law. I mean, charges should still be brought up against him for that type of what I consider to be treasonous activity, the protection of the corporate state. But as bad as things have gotten, I feel like those walls are starting to fall. The average person you talk to now, I think, is very suspicious of our system and the lack of trust in our system, especially as it relates to all of them committing insider trading on a regular basis. We are going to get to a point where change is going to happen. It's just inevitable. I just hope we get there before we see something as catastrophic as war with Iran. That's my greatest concern.
Yeah, the question. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say real quick, that made me smile because I've been saying America first is inevitable, unstoppable.
America first, you said?
Yep.
Yeah, so then and my question becomes, America first, what does it end up looking like? Who ends up leading the charge on what America first looks like? Where are the chips actually going to fall? Because for me, I really don't know what the outcome of all of this is going to be. It has become to a point where I would be able to connect some dots and have some kind of idea of where the wind is blowing. And now I'm at a point where I honestly don't know what the end goal is or will be for these people, and how it affects us in our day-to-day lives. I'm thinking of myself very selfishly, right? 33-year-old man, married, wants to start a family, living in Miami. What does this say for me? What does this say for my family? What does it say for the future of my kids? And at this point, I feel so far removed. Peter, I've always admired you because of your in-depth knowledge of foreign policy, of international relations, of keeping up with all of this. And I have decided in a way to kind of exile myself from a lot of it, because when I would fester in it, man, it would just drive me nuts, because it's such a dirty thing that's happening right now that the ordinary American doesn't know what to do with it anymore.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I think collectively, this is why these conversations need to happen. I mean, Osiris was a guest on our podcast. I mean, he did a solo show with me once, and I think we were getting 30, 35 viewers at a time. Right now, we're at 350.
Let's go.
Nice.
You know, I'm not surprised by that. I've always talked. This is the war room of the left right here.
I don't even consider myself left. I just consider myself honest. And if honesty means breaking through on a lot of those tropes that people would assume. And again, I always point out, if you want to know who really runs the show, what is the first thing you see when you fly into Reagan National in our nation's capital? Lockheed Martin's corporate headquarters is right there, right in your face, to let you know we're the ones in charge. You may not be in front of the Pentagon, but you might as well be, because we're showing you that this is who controls the world. You may think that Donald Trump, who on occasion will do such, Trump's greatest threat to the Republic is that he's too honest. Jen says he's the most honest liar she's ever seen, because what he ends up doing is exposing this system that they have cultivated for generations now. I mean, they have been able to fool the American people since World War II, even before then. I mean, you have to go back to the days of Woodrow Wilson and my favorite president, Teddy Roosevelt. You're talking about a time where the nation has basically been fumbling over itself for a very long time. We got into World War II at the exact right time. We still say that we won that war. And while we did win the Pacific and North Africa, it was the Russians who defeated the Nazis. And we still have to create this illusion that the Russians are the greatest enemy in the history of mankind, because war is profitable. And that's why when people think, would Trump really go to war with Iran? It depends. Why don't they release the Epstein files? What are they hiding right now? They are clearly hiding, as Whitney Webb so eloquently talks about in One Nation Under Blackmail. This is a clandestine operation of the highest order. There are people that we have seen over the years, actors, musicians, even athletes that get to certain levels of prominence in society who have no business being there. And yet you ask yourself, what exactly is it that they did? Well, if you look at the Diddy trial, it's the same thing there. How do people end up on Star Island in Miami at parties where people pay $100,000 just to attend? There are things that people don't recognize about the underbelly of our world that is so far removed from reality that no one would ever be able to comprehend it. And the sad truth is that the people who get just a little, as Robert De Niro would say, just a little taste. They want a little taste of that world. The second they get a taste of it, holy fuck, they'll move heaven and earth to stay in that club if they can.
Yeah.
And that's how it stays this way. But when you eventually realize that you can't afford rent, you can't get a job that pays you a living wage, you have no health care. I mean, for God's sake, that's just a running joke at this point. When you can't drink clean water, when you can't breathe clean air, and now you're noticing the tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars that is going to Israel, to Ukraine, and to anything in between, to basically make a mockery of our nation, to show just how bad things can possibly get. The powers that be are daring this country to have a revolution. They're daring it at this point. And I don't think that's going to. Please.
Yeah, the only group that would be against what you said is what Trump's become. I think most everyone else, normies don't care. So I'm not counting normies. People, they're important, but they don't really have a political viewpoint. So the people who are paying attention, it's really right now, everyone who's under that Trump umbrella, which is all Zionist, and then everybody else. So I agree with you. It's like, but it was a smart move though, wasn't it? Because if Trump didn't win, I don't think you would have the same energy towards this, believe it or not. I think it was very smart. Elon Musk bought Twitter. Then he turned it and kind of swung it more to the Trump side. He's not a Trump person, never been a Trump person, but it worked for his interests. He's getting his contracts and all that. And he cleaned up the bias against him, whatever reason Biden had the bias. And now it's like, that's where the energy is for the Zionism. Outside of that, I don't see any energy for this.
Yeah, and I think that Cyan brings up a good point, is that you also see just how propagandized the average American really is, although we don't know who the hell is being polled, because I doubt the three of us have ever been polled, because Lord knows if we were, they wouldn't use what we have to say as recorded information. I definitely agree. And I also think that this is a great transition into a conversation that I know we've been wanting to have, which of course is Palantir. And I still don't think people truly understand how big of an issue Palantir really is, and how Alex Karp, who's one of the biggest Zionazis out there, this is a person who has broken bread with Joe Lonsdale, who apparently really hates Jen Perlman. He's made that clear and likes to block us on social media. Another snowflake Zionist scumbag. And of course, you have Peter Thiel. They call them the PayPal Mafia for a reason. When you're constantly moving money all over the world and you don't want it to be traced, you don't want to know which illicit form of business is doing the deed, so to speak. Same thing with crypto, just putting that out there. I think it is very important that we be honest about why Palantir is so dangerous and why you see all of those so-called MAGA influencers led by Laura Loomer, Jack Posobiec, Miles Ian DeJong, all these guys. Why are they constantly singing the praises of Palantir? Because like any of the corporate liberal establishment, bloodsuckers, if you will, that are just looking for a payday and will espouse any message that the corporate party line is going to throw at them, that is the reason why we are stuck in this sort of 1984-like existence where everything that we do is under constant surveillance, because they want to make sure that their corporate entity, if you haven't seen the last Mission Impossible movie, I advise you all to go see it. A lot of great political messaging in that movie, I must say. But if there is somebody who I think commented on this perfectly, it's Tim Dillon, another comedian turned incredibly effective social commentator.
You have not one reservation about what's going on over there. I'm not saying you have to feel one way or another way, but if you don't have any if you have no reservations about what's happening with all these kids getting killed, I don't know, I can't trust you. If you don't have any reservations about Palantir taking everyone's information, I don't know. I don't know if I can trust you. I think they're buying people left and right. This is my guess.
It's not a guess.
They try to buy me. My pussy costs a lot of money. I get invited to these dinners. I don't go. I've been invited to Thiel's house multiple times for dinner. I don't go. It's no shade at them.
Well, just so people know, I'm not putting anything out there other than the truth. Tim Dillon is gay. Peter Thiel is gay. I'm just saying.
Or whatever, The reason I don't go is I remember one dinner, they're like, we'd like to discuss the media. I go, what? No, thanks. We'd like to discuss dinner. We discuss the media and culture. No, thanks. Appreciate it. That's fine. Don't need a... Here's what I'm doing every week. I'm discussing the media. Hey, good news, I have a show. You can listen to it. You can listen to it if you're curious about, but I've been to some of these places. I've sat in these houses in Austin with these tech people, and I know what they want, and I know what they want me to go out and cheerlead for and say, well, it's actually a great idea, and there's probably a lot of money in it. There's probably a lot of money, and I just can't do it.
And that's really what it comes down to, isn't it, guys?
Yeah.
There's a lot of money to be made to be a sellout, and to sell out your fellow man, woman, and child in this country. And there's a lot of people who will do it. But to Tim Dillon's credit, he's saying, no amount of money is going to get me to praise Palantir and praise what they are helping facilitate in Gaza.
I respect him. I respect him for that, man. That takes some courage. These are some powerful people. You like to come out, and he didn't have to say that. I don't know what he would gain by saying that. So I really respect that. I don't like the visual, Peter. If you could just the visual, like, oh, they're both gay. I don't know what Peter was up to. I don't know. I don't want to get into all that. But as far as it comes to Palantir,
I was only bringing that up because Tim Dillon was pointing out that Peter Thiel is constantly inviting him over his house for dinner.
It's relevant. It's relevant, but not a good thought. But I view Palantir, for a lot of people don't understand what Palantir is. It's just basically like a Google search for whoever wants to pay for it. But this is really the deep state. I mean, it's really like a Google search for the administrative state, deep state. Basically can search on damn near any record that they get from you. And the problem here is that it's a private company. So it's and I know they have offspring like products like Foundry and all that, but it's Palantir. So how does a private company get involved? So they have my data, but I can't search on what data they have. This is just fundamentally problematic. And Donald Trump ran, a lot of people don't know this, the first agenda of Agenda 47 was a digital bill of rights where you as the consumer would have rights over basically your data. And he gets into power, hands it over to Doge. Doge gives it to Palantir. Insane.
Which also has to make you wonder, guys, why is it that in the course of 48 hours, Elon Musk goes from saying that Trump is in the Epstein files to, I'm so sorry, I misspoke. I should never have said such a thing. I apologize, President Trump. I mean,
yeah.
Crazy. To me, that's just Musk telling on himself because, again, one nation under blackmail. All these guys. There's something out there on probably just about every one of them, and they don't want anyone to know about it. I think I expect the worst.
The blackmail and extortion is to a degree that we can't even comprehend. You know, this Palantir thing, which I've only looked at the very surface level, is, from my understanding, just makes the Patriot Act look like dinosaur technology in terms of what its objective and end result is. The reason why a lot of people put their trust, a lot of specifically, libertarians and really disappointed Bernie supporters, like the likes of Joe Rogan, the likes of Tulsi Gabbard, right, the likes of RFK, the likes of me, who were considered like traditional libertarian-leaning. It's kind of strange. It's like libertarian progressives. I don't know. There's a term that's very difficult to, but that's
it would be classified as libertarian left. You can say that.
Right. Okay. So, they ended up going with Trump on the premise that they believed that Trump was going to be the anti-war, the pro-freedom, liberty of the individual. And once he came into office, I think that what allowed the 180 to happen is because of how deeply embedded our political leadership is with Israel. I think it goes back to that. Whether it's Iran, whether it's Palantir, whether it's the Epstein files, there's always something that somehow involves directly or indirectly or implicates Israel. And the ordinary Joe like myself can't point my finger at it, but we're not stupid. It's like we see what we're seeing and we're feeling what we're feeling.
Yes.
And so we rely on people like Tim Dillon to help us laugh through the pain, because at this point, there's not much else you can do.
Yeah. The other thing that we've also noticed about the growth of our channel is that we have a very substantial international flavor. A lot of people from the UK, people from Australia, people from Germany. We even have some people from Israel, believe it or not. Now, of course, most of them who come here to, give a shit, but that's okay. Their days are numbered anyway. So, hi. Yeah. But credit to the fearlessness of Tim Dillon, because he's part of that group. He's part of that very influential group of comedians led by Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn that have very cordial relationship with Donald Trump.
Also a former Bernie supporter.
Yes. Yeah. No, Dillon's the real deal. He's really carved an amazing niche. And I don't just say this to say it, but he is funny as hell. He really is.
It's not because I'm some great moral I wouldn't be good at it. I'd be terrible at coming on here going, well, the good thing about the list. Well, no, if you actually think about the list this way, all my people that listen every week go, what the fuck happened? What the fuck happened to him? So my prediction, and I'm I don't want to name names because I don't know. But my prediction is you're going to see a lot of people over the next 6 months start thinking this list's a great idea. They're going to start telling you how great this is and how it's about terrorism. That's the what that'll start going. Well, it's a terror. Have you heard? Is terrorism going to? This is going to happen.
Yeah,
he's absolutely right. And I think it is important now to pull up a clip. Now, Osiris, you have obviously spoken very favorably, much to my disagreement in many cases, about Nick Fuentes. But I have noticed a lot of what he's been saying lately. Now, granted, a lot of it may be coming from a nationalistic lens, and that's, I mean, it is what it is. But he has been, and not even doing it the way I felt that Dan Bilzerian's been doing. Dan Bilzerian is an open anti-Semite. Like he's pretty adamant about the fact that he just doesn't like Jews. Okay, fine, whatever. Which is why I wouldn't break bread with him. But the way Nick Fuentes has been doing it, he's just been doing it from the lens of, I'm America first. You could call me whatever you want, but Israel controls this country and it's unacceptable. And he has said the same regarding the connection with Palantir. And he did this with Alex Jones. And that's what made this even more impressive.
Really gives me a lot of concern. They put bombs in the pagers and they're involved in procurement for the U.S. military. You know, Palantir, all these new generation defense contractors, they're all over Unit 8200. They're all over Ehud Barak over there in Israel. It's filled with shadowy corporations that are funneling their technology into our country. We're going to trust them in our
Well, I'll say this about Palantir. It's all really the hot thing to say it runs everything and it's so big. It's tiny compared to the other AI companies and defense stuff.
That's not true. And the fact that he even feels the need to say such a thing, I think also speaks to a greater indicator, which is Alex Jones, for those who may not know, lost a really incredible, huge lawsuit, which he did lose. And because of what he said regarding what happened at Sandy Hook, he is now on the hook for hundreds of millions of dollars, basically for the rest of his life. Now, who's to say that he doesn't form a relationship because of the reach that he has with his social media platform with somebody like Mr. Karp, who says, listen, if you go easy on us, if you even suggest that we're not even a big problem, we can make some of that money go away. And believe me, they can make it go away. If anybody has seen the movie Scarface, and everybody knows what happened to Tony Montana before things got really, really bad, he met with Sosa after he was indicted. And Sosa told him, we have connections all the way at the top of the U.S. government. You'll pay a big fine, but you're going to avoid jail time. That's the type of stuff that really goes on. And you have to wonder, Mr. Alex Jones, Mr. the day after 9/11, saying that Israel is responsible for the towers getting hit. Now he's saying this bullshit? How do you not put two and two together? How do you not recognize that he is one nation under blackmail? That this is a man who wants out from the hell that he has found himself in. And somebody like Peter Thiel or Alex Karp has the power to take that and make it right for him. So just don't say anything bad about Palantir. Am I wrong?
You're absolutely right.
You're taking us into deep waters, my friend.
We have to.
I care.
We have to. Alex Jones is half the man he used to be, figuratively and literally. I give him credit for bringing on Nick Fuentes, much credit for that. But you could see the change in the whole room when he kind of tried to hid the Palantir conversation. I couldn't believe when I saw this. Alex Jones hiding the Palantir conversation. He's scared to do it. I don't know if he has deals or what's going on, but obviously something's not right there because he's not questioning it. He's not challenging anything Nick said. He's trying to soften what Nick said. Why? Why would Alex Jones be doing that? That's very concerning.
Heck, we even have paid propagandists for Palantir showing up in our chat now. Man, our channel's really growing. I got to say.
Wait, what did it say?
What's the issue with Palantir? It's an American company.
No, that's a fair question, though. What's the issue with Palantir? Well, we talked about that a little bit, that it's a private company.
So if our registered attorney was here right now, she would tell you that your constitutional rights, they don't exist anymore. The Constitution, you want to light that on fire? even if he did it now, it really wouldn't make any difference, because all of what we have held sacred and dear has been gone, which is why anyone who voted in favor of the Patriot Act, which had been sitting on the sidelines for years prior to 9/11, which is why everyone is convinced now that 9/11 was an inside job, because as soon as 9/11 happens and they pass the Patriot Act, as Jen said time and again, you have now kissed away 4, 5, and 6 from the Constitution. Goodbye. And you're never going to have them again. And now, as it relates to our right to free speech, that's gone too. We don't have that. I'm not saying we need the Third Amendment, although I don't know if we're ever going to have war on stateside. But if we did, we'd have to quarter some people. Point being, this is a nightmare scenario that we are now seeing as the unraveling of our constitutional republic. There is no question that it is on its last legs in so many ways. When somebody like Alex Jones, it's not even a question of him saying that Palantir is bad, but maybe not as bad. He's basically saying they're not bad. They're not that big of a problem. Only somebody who is compromised, in my opinion, is going to defend Palantir, knowing what they're up to and knowing the level of involvement that they are in with the genocide in Gaza. So the fact that he is saying this, knowing that he has spoken at length before about how bad Israel is, the only thing that comes to mind is that he's compromised.
Yeah, and that question could be an honest question to explain that. I'm not sure, but here's the triggering event where I really crashed out and called people from MAGA maggots and completely called them deplorables was the Kilmar Garcia. I asked people I respected, like Jack Posevec and others, wait a second. How do you scoop somebody off the street and put them in an El Salvadorian prison with no check to see if they're here legally or not? Then I asked people, was he here legally? You can kind of parse these words. Was he allowed to be here? That's a fact. He was allowed to be here. So how do you scoop somebody off the street? It's all through Palantir. They're using this immigration OS software that allegedly, we don't know for sure, but we know they have the software, but we don't know for sure because it's all private. If they use that to scoop up Kilmar, they're using AI. So they have these filters on it, and they got it from the MS-13 and all this stuff, even though it wasn't, for certain with him. And they said, oh, this guy shouldn't be here, when actually it was a mistake. Trump admitted it was a mistake. So I go to MAGA and Trump and these people's supporters, and I say, well, what's going on here? Obviously it was a mistake. Why are you supporting this? And they don't say anything. Oh, he's a gangster. And then they start smearing him. Then they start saying, well, he did this to his girlfriend or whatever and all this other stuff. I'm like, that's not what I'm asking about. So that's the problem. If they can scoop Kilmar Garcia off the street illegally, unconstitutionally, they can scoop anybody. They could knock on the door right now and take me to El Salvador.
I think there's a lot of beta testing going on and seeing what it is that they can get away with. And then there's also just a lot of orchestrated chaos that just happens over and over again. I'm so suspicious of the divine timing of June 14th, being this nationwide protest against kings. And we already know that with Trump, promoting that, he supports incarcerating people for burning the flag, that's what they're going to want to do on June 14th, on his birthday, on American Flag Day, all across the country. It's like you're giving them a reason to convince the American people that we have so many terrorists and bad people in our midst. And so we need something like Palantir to track them down and to get them. It always seems like it's perfect timing to justify stripping our civil liberties away, one thing at a time, one pandemic at a time, one terror attack at a time. I mean, it's just, there's always something that's there that justifies the government overreach every time, from the left or from the right, every time.
We'll continue.
He is trying to make a run at getting a bunch of big contracts. And so I'm not defending what it does. My point is, compared to all these other big companies, it's tiny. And that's why you see the left attacking it a bunch too. So I see a weird alliance with kind of the anti-Israel folks and the left with the Muslims and like Palantir, it's the big thing. I mean, its contracts are tiny compared to the other stuff.
But what Palantir is a privatization of the surveillance state. They work for the CIA. They come from the CIA.
But what I've seen is Palantir has been trying to reform the government contracting process.
They're trying to make it more competitive and more efficient, but what they're doing is they're funneling all of our data into the government. Clearview AI is part of that suite. They ripped everybody's faces off of Facebook. Palantir's involved in Gaza doing facial recognition so they know which Palestinians to blow up with drones. And J.D. Vance is the protege of Peter Thiel, who's the co-founder of Palantir. That's like George Bush all over again. That's like George Bush, head of the CIA, being Reagan's vice president.
So you don't like Vance? I think Vance is awesome.
Oh, I think he's terrible. I don't. First of all, I think he's fake.
What is going on with Alex Jones? This is wild.
Yeah,
How many things could he rattle off, like right there at the end, just basically saying, yeah, I'm compromised?
Yeah, he's done. I mean, he's just a joke, man. For JD Vance. JD Vance is a clown. He's never liked Trump. He's not a Trumper. He's more of a George Bush type era, neoconish type of dude who's rebranded himself. Mm-hmm. I mean, and Peter Thiel calls himself a libertarian, believe it or not. How crazy is that? There's libertarians that support him.
Yeah, and that's also because people don't understand the definition of libertarianism, what it really means. I think people just like to call themselves whatever the fuck they want. The closest thing to a true libertarian, in my opinion, is Thomas Massie. He really does embody what small, limited government is all about. And it's not about screwing the average person. It's about ensuring that we have enough to support our nation without creating this bloat, which people just have taken full advantage of.
I'm seeing on Twitter reports of explosions in Iran. So just to let you know.
So here we go.
Here we go.
Here we are.
And this is your legacy, Trump. Boy, it's going to get ugly.
I don't know. It's not official. I'm just seeing explosions. I don't know what that means, but I don't know if it's pagers or what.
Before the world does end, we hope that you'll go over to patreon.com/generational change. For as little as $5 a month, you could become a supporter of our small but mighty channel so that I have enough to, like maybe not as much as Tim Pool does with his underground utopia of lots of wonderful food and supplies that he has in case the rapture comes, but just enough so that I can survive and Jen can survive. So any support and all support is tremendously appreciated. And for those of you who are here already who have contributed, the Progressive Lefty, thank you so much for being a 3-month YouTube member. Greta is a hero. We agree. What she has obviously put herself through to bring greater attention to what's going on in Gaza cannot be understated. Teresa, one of our most awesome supporters, thank you so much for the $10 super sticker. The Progressive Lefty, thank you for the $2.79 Canadian A. Brian is great. I watch all the stuff. Yes, we will definitely be looking out for Mr. Berletic going forward. I'm sure there will be more clips that we will play of him going forward that will be just as informative, and glad that you guys did enjoy the information that he was providing. And Cyan, thank you so much for the $5. The United States played a central and decisive role in the 1953 coup that overthrew Iran's democratically elected prime minister. That is correct. We have involved ourselves in a lot of nation meddling for generations. This isn't something new. We have been doing this for quite some time. But make no mistake, there's a reason why this is happening. We have talked time and again where a lot of these problems stem from. Now, I'm not going to say that Israel is responsible for every ill will and issue that is done around the world and even at home that we disagree with, although we certainly will hope right now that if in fact they have started bombing Iran, my God, we cannot cut ties with them fast enough. And I bring this up for a reason. Because as bad as Donald Trump is, there are still people out there that are going to try to convince us all that our nation would be so much better off if we just let Kamala Harris win. Well, I'm here to play a little clip for you guys to show you that that is simply not the case.
Not an Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel.
The Jewish state has never had a better friend in the White House. We have to get the people of our country, of this country, to love Israel more. I have to tell you that. We have to do it. We have to get them to love Israel more.
America's commitment to Israel's security flows from a deeper place. The bonds between the United States and Israel are unbreakable. And the commitment of the United States to the security of Israel is ironclad.
And let me be clear, I will always stand up for Israel's right to defend itself, and I will always ensure Israel has the ability to defend itself.
I get criticized for having said a long time ago, you need not be a Jew to be a Zionist. I'm a Zionist.
We can say today that America is Israel's oldest and best friend in the world.
Yeah, best friend. To think that
it is official. Preemptive, they're calling it a preemptive strike from Israel. No, how can you say that with a straight face? But you could see the chess pieces. This is the ideal time for them to do it, and here we go.
And it was always the plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's no question that is the plan. And if we are staring down the barrel of a third world war, hey, you asked for it, guys. We have stood stone, and I have called everybody out because I have not hesitated. And I have been very adamant since I have been doing commercial real estate for the past 2 years. I will not do business with Israelis. And they have infested the multifamily investment space. That is where they make their money. They've been doing it for generations. When you see those, shitty apartment buildings, poor tenant resources and everything all throughout New York City in particular, South Florida, who do you think owns those buildings? It's all of them. That's what they own. And they have made billions upon billions of dollars, and it buys a hell of a lot of political influence, including one lady who owns 35 multifamily properties in Broward County alone, which is where Jen is based. And this was shortly after October 7th. And this lady's last name is also Wasserman, although I don't think they were related because I think I had asked that question. She had family in Israel. And so I just, inquired, wanted to make sure that at least her family was okay. Didn't know the full extent of the bombings or anything like that. And she said, yeah, I'm good. I think I'm going to donate $1 million to the IDF. Just said it very flippantly. Like, yeah, I'm going to donate $1 million to the IDF. We must cut ties with this nation. It will bring us down. It is bringing us down every day. We are seeing the disintegration of our empire every day. Our constitutional republic is going to fall if we do not cut ties with Israel. Who in the fuck wants to be a part of this? The honest people that honestly know what's going on. Why would you ever want to have anything to do with this? That's my question. And so I bring this over to a topic that I wanted to cover because if there is another person who I think embodies libertarianism, maybe not in its truest form, but certainly in a very reasonable way that you can associate him with libertarianism, and that is Dave Smith. Another comic of all people, much like Tim Dillon, seems to have a very good grasp on social commentary and everything that's going on right now. Well, he has been spot on. And here comes another person, in my opinion, coming around because he recognizes the writing on the wall and how bad things are getting with Israel, is Piers Morgan. When Piers Morgan turns a corner, then you have to ask yourself, how much longer can we sustain this facade, this lie? I don't know. But they had on an attorney for Israel. I'm forgetting her name at the moment. Maybe one of you guys in the chat will recognize her when we put her up. But this was one of the most interesting takedowns I've ever seen regarding what's going on right now.
Here is that you're not allowed to tell the truth. You're Israel's lawyer, and you got to defend them no matter what. Natasha, does Israel have nuclear weapons?
Sorry, I'm an independent
Does Israel have
member
nuclear
of
weapons?
the English bar.
Yes or no?
That's a good
I'm not
question.
instructed.
Yes or no?
I'm
yes
not
or no,
instructed.
Natasha? Do they have
Does
nuclear
Israel have
weapons?
nuclear weapons, Natasha?
Why do you think I would know any better than you, Piers?
I mean, last I checked, it does seem like the reason why JFK was assassinated was because he was preventing Israel from getting nuclear weapons. And they said, Yeah, I guess we're going to have to do something about that guy. And that's why LBJ covered up the USS Liberty massacre, among other things. I mean, it's really not hard to see it, but here's a really simple example of just backing an Israeli power broker into a corner and asking them a very poignant question. And Natasha can't answer the question, or knows that if she does answer it truthfully, that that is not going to be good for her and it's not going to be good for Israel. Tell me I'm wrong.
Ooh, that was a great. It's comic. Dave Smith is so battle tested. So he put her in the corner. He's like, yeah, I got it. Like, she can't answer the question, so it proved what he was saying. I mean, if you do the research on it, we know pretty much for sure Israel obviously has nukes. And we've known going back to the 80s, but she can't answer the question honestly. She can't even acknowledge like what's out there. Checkmate. I mean, Dave is one of the best out there at positioning it and exposing other people.
Yeah. I mean, it goes without saying that the whole concept of Zionism in the state of Israel is a lie. So to even admit wrongdoing is a fatal error on their part, which is why they must obfuscate at all times. There cannot be any breaks. But let's see what else I have to say.
What's the name of your company? You do know you are not telling the truth, and so you won't say it. You're playing a different game than me and Piers are. We are having a conversation about what's actually going on. You're a lawyer who's not allowed to incriminate your client, which is Israel. The reason why 2 former Israeli prime ministers have come out and said that Israel is committing war crimes in Gaza is because Israel is committing war crimes in Gaza. The reason why Israel will not let journalists into Gaza is because Israel is committing war crimes in Gaza. And the reason why Israel is killing Palestinian civilians in Gaza, and the reason why they're building up more settlements in the West Bank, is because, as Smotrich has said, as Katz, the defense minister, has said this week, and as Benjamin Netanyahu has said for years and years and years, their plan is greater Israel.
And that is the reason why they're attacking Iran. But remember, guys, they're attacking Iran for a reason. They want to draw us into the conflict and create a world war, because they can't do this without us. You thought that Israel was getting money before? Holy fuck, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Right.
Yep. Dang, that's crazy. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going to happen with that, because war is so expensive. I looked up the Yemen, the Houthis stuff, 52 days, 2.5 billion just for that. That's the little Houthis. So I don't know how much we're going to deal with here. This is going to be bigger than, I think, Russia, Ukraine, even though that's more land mass because Israel's such a small place. But this is going to be crazy. You got more distance here, so you've got more bases, and it's going to be tough to strategically defend it all. No wonder there's evacuations.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we should have seen this attack coming as soon as the diplomats were being pulled out of the embassies.
Yeah.
Like, you have to know that the reason they're doing that is they're like, oh yeah, we're going to strike. This is so insane. And yet we are one nation under blackmail. So when people are asking, hey, how come it looks like a healthy margin of the MAGA base does not want any part of this, and yet Trump is still going forward with it? Because he doesn't answer to the people. He answers to corporate special interests like everybody else.
Yeah, I hate to say it. I think the active part of the MAGA base supports this. I think they actually do support it. That's the only reason we have it.
Well, the friends that I have that are still sort of MAGA, they're not with it. They're not with it at all. But they're like, well, this is what we got. We gotta roll with it. You know, I think that Trump came in thinking that maybe he still could find a way to not allow this next step to happen between Israel and Iran. But once he came in, there really wasn't anything he could do about it. As it is with most people that aspire the highest office of the land, if you're not already bought and sold, and you have some sense, like even maybe just a little bit, an ounce of integrity left, you might come in thinking that you could still run the play, but then you're not able to. is I actually really believed Trump when he said that he was going to be the peace president, that he was really going to try. And I think that he tried, and it happened very quickly, was not able to. I have no proof and no backing of this. I, as someone who, at the beginning, when Israel, with the attacks on October 7th, when they happened, I remember I had a conversation with you, Peter. I was actually in Washington, D.C., and we were having a back and forth argument, and I was saying that Israel has the right to defend itself and everything like that. And as time went on and we started to see what Israel was doing in response to this attack, it was just it's irreconcilable. It's completely irreconcilable. You add that with all of the blackmail and the extortion in the United States as a result of Israeli intelligence and whatever it is that Israel is doing to allow Americans in power to not distance themselves from the state of Israel. And I think we end up with I really struggle to find my words in this because I'm just thinking about people dying, continuing to die, like every day.
You know, when we get people like you, M85, it's like you trusted Trump. Well, here's the problem. There is no one to trust.
Yeah, exactly. There is no one to trust. I didn't trust Trump when I supported him. I didn't trust Biden when I voted for him in 2020. I don't trust any of these motherfuckers. But when you don't have a choice, your back is against the wall. What do you do?
So Iranian kiddo, to your family, to your friends, to everybody, whether in Tehran or wherever they may be, we hope that they are safe. This can get ugly very fast. So just hunker down. We are dead set against this. To our friend Farbod Tehranian, to your family, he was a supporter of Jen's. Obviously, he is, somebody who worked very hard to help unseat Wasserman Schultz, and I know this issue is very near and dear to his heart, obviously, as it should be to all of us. We want to be able to do more than what we are doing. But what we must be doing is continuing to get the message out there of exactly who Israel is, what they're doing to our nation, how the Israel lobby, led by AIPAC and a whole bunch of other NGOs, have been absolutely dragging this country straight to hell. Straight to hell.
They want Gaza and the West Bank. They call it Judea and Samaria. They believe that it's rightfully Israel's. Benjamin Netanyahu showed up to the United Nations a couple weeks before October 7th with a map where it was all Israel. That's the bottom line, is why they've been controlling these territories since 1967. See, the truth makes a lot more sense. And by the way, you know that Israel has nuclear weapons, but you won't say it on this program because you're not in the business of telling the truth about this conflict.
And what makes this statement from Dave even more prophetic is the fact that he is Jewish. He was raised in this environment. He knows exactly what their modus operandi is and why they say what they say. And yes, Netanyahu did show up with that map, showing it as all Israel territory. And we have gone right along with it. And at what point do we break away? Thomas Massie can't do this all by himself. Whereas you still have people like AOC putting out messages like Israel still has the right to defend itself. No, people have the right to defend themselves. Nations don't have shit. Remember at one time we were Middle Earth. I mean, if you look at the world and you look at the map, especially South America and Africa, they used to be one perfectly fitted puzzle piece. Mm-hmm. At some point along the way, we broke away. And just as a nation, we have found ourselves not seeing each other as one nation, but as a plethora of a whole bunch of different factions that happen to live within a nation. And there's many reasons for that division. But the greatest reason for it is because there were people that decided that they were going to take things too far, that the system could somehow sustain itself. Like I did when I was president of the United States. I passed NAFTA. I passed normal trade relations with China. I passed the crime bill. I passed the Telecom Act. And I overturned Glass-Steagall. And yet somehow people thought this nation could survive by all of those things happening. No, it can't. And Israel just makes it that much worse. But kudos to Mr. Smith.
You know, it almost makes you very nostalgic when you bring up leaders of the 90s. I don't know. It just feels like they were simpler times, even though it's just fucked up in different ways, you know?
No, I think in some ways that the things that happened in yesteryear takes a while for us to fully realize how we ended up where we are. It doesn't just happen overnight. Yeah. So many of the things that we thought were great about this nation died when JFK was assassinated. Mm-hmm. It took a long time for people to see that reality. It took Malcolm's assassination. It took MLK's assassination. It took Bobby's assassination. It took all of these coups. It took the fact that people still don't want to look into the truth about why Nixon was impeached or would have been impeached. People still don't want to look into all of the bad things that Carter did as president, rather than people just assuming that he was just a meek and simple man who ended up in the White House. Not true. In fact, a lot of the things he did were things that he had already set in place for Reagan to just take to the next step once he got to the White House. We have been heading in this direction for a long time, guys. This didn't just happen overnight, as much as I hate to say that, but we are kind of, it's like a game of musical chairs, and we're the ones looking around recognizing that there's only like 1 or 2 chairs left, and we're fucked. That's just kind of where we are right now. If you really took a survey right now and asked the average person in this country, do you want to go to war on behalf of Israel? Do you want to go to a world war against Iran? How many people realistically would say, yes, I will do that? And the one thing you guys have probably noticed, it's very commonplace when it comes to the Zionazis, especially in this country. They are the biggest cuck pussies walking this fucking planet. They would never lift a finger to defend this nation. In fact, they would lift a finger to defend Israel before they would defend the United States. And to me, those are traitors of our country. When I see people wearing that America, the USA, Israel lapel, fuck those people. Fuck them. And they should be cast out like the fucking lepers that they are. That's why we're here right now. We are live, and this is going to be seen by thousands of people, and I don't give a flying fuck who hears it. Fuck every last one of those Zionazis that are in this country. Fuck Wasserman Schultz and everyone who has protected her for years, whether you support her ideology or not, because he did it for your career, or because he didn't like Jen, because Jen was too honest for your liking, like anybody else. When blood is being spilled, when innocent children have their heads blown off, I bring my black brother and my Latino brother on this podcast tonight to unmask what real racism is, because I get sick and tired of everybody talking about what they think racism is in the United States. You don't have a fucking clue what it is. The Zionist ideology, that's real racism. That is, I am better than you ideologically, religiously, culturally, ethnically. I'm better than you. When the 2 people were gunned down in Washington, D.C., they wanted to throw a military parade for those 2 people. 100,000 Palestinian kids dead. That's not enough. Let's kill all of them. And you have the Zionazis that are out there that say exactly that.
You know, Peter, the reason why I've been so out of the game when it comes to politics, when it comes to activism, and the reason why even as I speak, I find myself kind of trying to be as coherent as I possibly can, is because I just feel like we have reached a place where it's not even just political and a secular issue. The peace that I have made within myself when I think about all the stuff that's happening is because I understand that this is, at this point, kind of low-key, really, truly a spiritual warfare. And I've had to lean more towards my faith at this point to get by when I try and grasp the extent to which the United States is in peril by maintaining this relationship with Israel. And I don't know what that says for the future of my home, of my family. That's where I'm at, you know?
I wish it wasn't so scary. And I think it is incumbent upon us to continue to expose who these people are. Colin, is Richard Gage the clip of the Zionists preaching genocide? Is that what that is?
It might be. I don't remember exactly.
Can you check it behind the scenes? I want to confirm because we've done this before. We have highlighted specifics pertaining to who the Zionists are, and they're very overtly open genocidal ideology. What they believe in. But they do believe in this sort of benevolence, if you will, that they can do no wrong, and that they are proud of wanting to kill people because they believe that other people. Again, it's total psychosis. It is a cult. It is it's definition of a cult.
Now, Peter, I don't want to play devil's advocate, and we don't have to go there if you don't want to. Okay.
I know you like to.
I also have the concern that in our efforts to really paint Israel with the face that it deserves to have because of their actions, it's really, you don't have to do that much to show them who they really are. On the other hand, you have a lot of these Islamic nations that they would not tolerate people like us either. And so when we think about the wars that are ensuing and the future of our relationships to these various nations, what do you think about that? What are your thoughts on that? Because I am someone who am traditional Orthodox Christian, and I know that I would not be allowed. In fact, we have been driven out from those lands too. So just playing a little devil's advocate, we don't have to change the subject if you don't want to, but that's just another insight that I'm having from my perspective, from my life journey.
No, I think it's fair. I think that, listen, Christians are probably the most persecuted people in the world, depending on, where and when. I think that that's a real issue. I also think that you get to a point where you're going to have to take things issue by issue. And if you look at the history of Palestine, because it's not Israel, it's Palestine. Mm-hmm. They call it Israel, but whatever. If you look at the history prior to 1948, the Jews and the Muslims got along just fine. In fact, it was considered a safe haven for a lot of Jews that were fleeing persecution in Europe as a means to protect themselves from Nazi Germany. But ultimately, the Zionist project is very much in some ways like the Patriot Act. The Zionist project was something that was created by fanaticists in the 1850s, I believe. And then over time, they seized their opportunity a century later, but it was something that was built up over time. Much like the Patriot Act was many, many years prior to 9/11. They had to find an opportunity in order to get it through. Well, the Zionist movement seized on the Holocaust to push through their Zionist state. And that's what has created so much of this anti-Muslim bloodshed in the States, and also the anti-Christian bloodshed that exists in some of the Muslim nations around the world. Mm-hmm. If you massacre people out of their land where their ancestors are from, remember, there's a substantial portion of the Zionist population is Eastern European. They're not from the Middle East. In fact, do you gentlemen know where the number one nation in the world for skin cancer is? Do you know what it is?
Israel.
By far.
Because regionally, they're not from there.
Correct. They don't have the skin tone. Mm-hmm. I can't live in the desert because I, unlike you guys, do not have enough melatonin in my skin in order to sustain it. It's not healthy. I can get skin cancer.
We'll bring some sunblock for you, brother. Don't worry about it.
Thank you. I'll wear it. I mean, SPF 100 every day. And what fun is that?
You're giving me flashbacks being on the campaign trail in the midsummer.
Listen, it takes a while for me to get some good color, but I can do it. It just takes a while. You can be done in 10 minutes. So the heck with you. You have it a little too easy with that Mediterranean skin. But for me, it's more about the fact that they have moved in melanin. Yes, I said it wrong, Irene. I apologize. This is our problem now, and this is the whole libertarian aspect of our politics. It wouldn't be such an issue if we weren't directly involved. And yes, modern monetary theory is a real thing. The government prints money and it spends it, and then we get taxed. while the government is spending money to aid and abet a genocide and now potentially a world war. Where do we have a say in this? Where do we, the people, get to say, I'm not on board with this. I'm not doing this. Why should we defend these people right here?
It doesn't matter who your enemy is. You need to destroy their offspring to prevent them from creating more offspring.
I just think we need to kill them, every one of them, and that's it.
Speaking about more than 2 million Arabs.
This lady is one of the biggest psychopaths walking the earth. She's one of the true leaders of the Zionist movement, just so you guys know.
They will not stay there. We, Jews, will be in Gaza.
That sounds like ethnic cleansing.
That seems sociopathic.
I can...
Doesn't it?
No, not at all. This is normal.
No, a single loaf of bread should go there.
They're starving to death.
Who cares? Fuck them. They're subhuman. They're beneath us. See, guys, that's what real racism looks like.
Yeah, I saw an interview of an IDF soldier that was also saying, I just want to bomb Gaza. I don't care if they're children. I want to kill all of them, you know. There's obviously a radicalization that has taken place. What they're taught, I remember Jen also shared her story, her upbringing, the way that they teach them in schools. And sure, you know, the other side, you can say that Palestinian children are also raised to be martyrs and to this and that. But I mean, from where they are, you know, death and genocide is all that they have known their whole entire lives. You know, when you ask why are we aiding and abetting Israel, why do we continue to support them? I think you have to look at leadership, and the American leadership that's compromised by Israel. And I think this does go back to leaders doing some real weird, illegal things and being blackmailed for it. And I just think that they will never give up supporting Israel because they know that their reputation is on the line. And I think that the amount of dirt that Israel has on American leadership, including our entertainers and people influencers in the United States, it's so deep that it would be a national security crisis for all of this to come to light. So I think that's why they continue to aid and abet Israel.
That's fair. Osiris?
Yeah, Lindsey Graham just posted on X, game on, pray for Israel.
Oh my God.
And my thought right now is I'm done with democracy, representative republic. It doesn't matter. What matters is what are the morals of the people who represent you?
Yeah.
And there's no fixing this. The people that represent us, their morals is their power, money. They couldn't care less about anything else. And I've talked to people on the right about mass deportations and stuff. And I'm like, I don't blame you for that, but what does that really fix? It doesn't fix what we're seeing here. It doesn't fix the war problem. It doesn't fix that our politicians are bought out by another country. So why is that the focus? I think we're lost right now.
Anytime you see an elected official, and the fact of the matter is, guys, there's not enough people that do the on-the-ground work in our nation's capital like you should. That is why I personally love the Ron Paul Institute, but I also love CodePink and the work that Medea Benjamin and her organization has been doing on the ground for years and years and years. When some scum-sucking Zionist piece of shit like Congressman Brad Sherman from Southern California is walking into the lunchroom in the U.S. Capitol, this is how they should be treated. Every time, every day.
As you eat your breakfast here in
Please leave me alone.
As you eat your breakfast here in Congress, we are funding the forced starvation of the Palestinian people.
You are working for the genocide of the Jewish people.
Oh God, I'm a
You support
Jew.
Hamas, and you're.
I'm a Jew, sir. It is not the genocide of Jews. It's the genocide of civilians.
They're harassing everybody that comes in here.
I am a big pussy and I can't defend myself against a bunch of little ladies. Now, can I please eat my lunch in private? Man, he gives off Woody Allen vibes if he ever did. Holy fuck.
We, as you're eating your breakfast, we are forcibly starving the people of Palestine.
Hey, that's a hell of a lot of blood money. $700,000 from the Israel lobby. It's a lot of money. But he'll never wash his hands of it. And yeah, they don't like being bothered. Wasserman Schultz, as you know, Anthony, she just avoids public at like all costs.
She's mastered the art of avoiding public.
Yeah.
She's mastered the art of it.
The only time she shows her face is when she's around people that she thinks she's safe with. That's it. Like she'll go to the synagogue at Century Village. No pun intended, guys. They're not all centenarians, but they're all pretty old. And, you know, when you feel you're amongst your people, then it's okay. But to actually face the public, no, they don't do that. And this is again a reflection of how bad things have gotten. We also are facing a serious problem where the rise of anti-Semitism has become an issue, but it's become an issue because of the blending of Judaism and Zionism. Mm-hmm. And there aren't enough people that are speaking up against it the way that they should be. I think you guys can both agree that we are facing a serious problem right now when we have this sort of equating of one and the other and that there is no separation. And you don't have enough people like Jen Perlman, like Steve Donziger, like Norman Finkelstein. You know, there's several others that have done a great. Deborah Winger, of all actresses out there. And you know what I always found interesting about Deborah Winger, who is a great actress, but she was always somebody who was regarded as very difficult to work with. And I always find it interesting that the people who are the real honest people about the world as it is, the ones that don't play ball with the establishment, Deborah Winger basically got cut off from Hollywood a number of years ago. And you have to wonder, for somebody who is as outspoken of a Jewish woman in favor of the Palestinian people, that there isn't some truth to the fact that she don't play ball. She doesn't defend the Jewish line. And it was always interesting to me when we would see the reports in Hollywood about this person's Jewish or that person's Jewish or that person's converting or that person's who gives a fuck. But it also shows you the power of that Israel lobby, the propaganda that gets thrown out there in the movies and the tabloids and all of that stuff. But we talk about this now, and the way I see it, it doesn't have the same effect anymore. In fact, I think with the exception of a movie like A Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise, people are just not buying the bullshit anymore. In fact, as I said, if you watch the last Mission Impossible movie, there is a very clear political message that I think was very well done in that movie that I wish we could see more of. The whole concept of AI taking over our society, the whole concept of world war, nuclear war, the issues that could actually end our existence. And that was put on full display, to Cruise's credit, because he's one of the producers on his own movies. But I do think that the propaganda machine is not what it used to be. The question is, have they run out of real estate, and how much time do we have to fight against what could potentially be historically dangerous times that we're living in right now?
Well, here's a good thought. We have these, and it looks like instead of Pride Month, we're going to get Riot Month or Protest Month. Are the protests going to shift to somewhere where I could walk in the street with you? If we're going to protest war peacefully during the daytime, not night, I could walk with you in a protest of war. Or is it going to stick on this anti-Trump only type of, immigration where it's more of a divide? I think there could be some unity in anti-war. What do you think? Do you think the protests are going to shift over the weekend or stay anti-immigration?
If I can answer that, the anti-immigration is going to be painted as anti-American, and the anti-war is going to be painted as anti-Israel. So anyone who goes out into the streets is going to be anti-American, anti-Israel, is going to be a potential terrorist, is going to be someone who is a threat to our nation. It's just painting the citizen as the enemy of the state. And that's why I have a very eerie feeling about how this weekend is going to turn out, because I think it's just the beginning of something much bigger. And the scapegoat is immigration, right? The scapegoat is Yeah, I think that's the scapegoat is burning an American flag. I think that's just all the government had to do was light the match, and then everyone joined in. So the timing couldn't be any better. Trump's birthday, American Flag Day, national.
My birthday is a national holiday. It's a great day, really important day of the year.
Yo, Trump, are we going to still do this military parade or what?
It's going to be a beautiful parade, the greatest parade you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's all for me because it's my birthday and I'll cry if I want to. And I
Maybe
will
it's
cry.
Trump.
Tears. Yes,
right. Maybe this is not a good time. World War III's popping off. Maybe it's not a good time.
I think he picked the time, you know?
Well, it's all going to be dependent upon what China and Russia decide to do.
Right. At this point, it's like, yeah, ball's on your court now. What your move?
Yeah, because if China and Russia line up behind Iran, that's World War III. Like, it's that simple. Yeah. And do we really have a nation? I asked two questions. Do we have a nation that wants to turn its guns on its own people? And do we have a nation that wants to die for Israel? I don't think we do. And I don't think as divided as our nation is, and let's be honest, it's a one-sided nation. It's the patriots, it's Red America that is armed and always has to fight always fights on behalf of the blues, if you will. But do I think that the Reds want to turn guns on blues, on their fellow Americans? Some of them do, but I think overwhelmingly most of them don't. They don't want to do that. It's not the answer. They know it's not the answer. And we're going to find out very quickly how married to Israel we really are. Because as I've said, the chinks in the armor are clearly there. And Osiris, I don't agree with you about people like Laura Loomer. I think people like that have their audience, to be fair. They do. But there's also a tremendous amount of influencers out there that have substantially larger platforms, that have supported Trump, that support the MAGA movement. And they are America first. They are not on board with any of this. Mm-hmm. They can see. And I often believe that as much as it has been portrayed that Trump supporters are Trump supporters to the death, I think that there is much more independent thought amongst those particular movements than there is amongst the Democratic Party loyalists who refuse to turn away from the obvious failure that is that party that is just dying every day. Much like we pointed out earlier about Bill Gates, who is considered one of the top Democratic Party billionaires, and yet he is as much an advocate for endless war, surveillance state as anybody. The lines have been blurred. We are seeing now what's in front of us. And I will also point out that we have sellouts amongst us on all sides, but I'm going to play this clip very quickly so that you guys understand that even somebody like Ethan Klein, who is as big a Zion-Nazi as anybody, who's married to an Israeli, keep that in mind too. This was a promotion that he did on his show, I think, a week ago.
Another exciting announcement.
You do?
It's not a big thing, but it's you guys may have noticed we got a button sponsor. Look at it. Oh wait, my glasses. Redact.dev, guys. They are our button sponsor. That's right. We got product sponsors, baby. Really cool company, actually. I'll just tell you guys about them real fast. Basically they've got a pre-roll. Whenever I hit the button, you'll see some Redact stuff now. But they are a up-and-coming tech company that's really, I've been hearing a lot about them. They seem to be really doing great. They mass delete your digital footprint. Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, Discord, all in one place. And I'll say this, when I was trying to erase Twitter, it was impossible.
They make it so hard.
The software that was available was just trash.
Delete. Yeah.
And there's still shit up on my feed still.
Right.
So this one actually works. And if you guys...
Well, do you know the little secret about this company, Redacted.dev? Redact.dev? Do you know what the little secret about it is? Yeah, no. It's Israeli intelligence.
Oh. Incredible.
Do you think Ethan would like to mention that to people? I think that's a little bit of important information. If you're going to be promoting a product and Lord knows how much they're paying your sellout ass, I would suspect that this is a very big problem. And who's to say that somebody like Ethan Klein is not now going to say, hey, Iran was pointing weapons, throwing rocks. Iran was throwing rocks at Israel. They had to attack them. I mean, they have to defend themselves. Remember, Israel has the right to defend themselves, guys. That's very important to remember.
I love that you didn't tell us until after the fact that it's Israeli, because it makes me want to go back and watch it again, but watch his body language and see if he feels any sense of conscience and shame in his sales pitch. We don't have to go back, but I'm going to watch it again because that's crazy.
Well, he just oozes corruption out his pores. He's very, genocidal pores.
Yeah, but it's got to eat away at you. Like
not if you're not, dude. Not if you're a sociopath.
That's crazy.
Not if you get paid well enough, and you're a sociopath.
Well, Lindsey Graham, game on.
Lord knows what the hell he's hiding in his closet.
Right.
Pun intended.
Try it out. Code H3H3 for 15% off. So it's redact.dev, baby. Love them.
And the button redacts things, so it just
it's a dream partnership.
It just makes sense.
Actually, count to 20 and then count to 20 and I'll hit the button.
Starting now?
Yeah. So guys, I'm gonna hit the button so you guys can see.
2, 3.
Well, you want them to hear this, so now I have. To
you gotta hear this part. So start counting to 20.
What a fucking loser!
Oh my god.
Honestly, this is what I would ask of you guys. Who do you think watches people like Ethan Klein, Destiny, David Pakman? Who is watching guys like this? And they have large audiences. Now, granted, they probably do just what the Midas Touch guys do, what the MAGA people do. They hone in on a particular issue. For people like Ethan Klein and for Destiny and all them, they just talk about, David Pakman. They talk about Trump 24/7. Everything about their content is basically Trump bad, Democrats good, et cetera, et cetera. But this is where the rubber meets the road. This is a guy who's promoting genocide. We're going to pay you money to push our intelligence operation on your podcast. Will you do our bidding? Yeah. How much you going to pay me? Oh, that's wonderful. You're going to pay me $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month? I'll do it. Absolutely. And that's it. How much blood does he have on his hands? How many people is he going to get killed? Quite a few, I would think.
Yeah, Ethan Klein, his audience is more, they're not really ideological. They don't have any type of philosophy. And I think that's what happened with the Piker and Hassan. And the reason why it matters is I think Ethan gets more normies. And the Piker would get more people who really kind of care about the issues structurally. It's just like your channel. You're going to get people who actually want to know about the issues, want to dive a little bit deeper. Ethan Klein is surface level. I actually like Destiny. I've been kind of in and out. Like when I first started streaming out, like, dang, Destiny's good. Not that I agree with Destiny, but I think Destiny goes deep into topics. Whether I agree or not, he will actually go. I don't like the surface level as much. So that's where I think that divide is.
Colin, do you have that audio clip that we talked about? I don't. Oh, wait. Okay. This is what I think of Destiny.
You're such a fantastic moron. You're such a fantastic moron. You're such a fantastic moron.
That is, in the immortal words of Norman Finkelstein, that is what Destiny is. A fantastic moron. And I often... I don't care if Destiny has good content. I just know that he's a Zion Nazi.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the cancelable offense. If you're looking for a reason not to listen to anybody, that's the reason. I hate that somebody would put up a graphic like that, but Scooby-Doo's, yeah. Hey, you think Brian Williams has nutted in his pants yet? Remember how happy he was when Syrian bombs were dropping in the air? Oh, I am in love with all these beautiful bombs in the air right now.
He's been edging for a while. He's been edging for a while now.
Oh, yeah. Well, this will just get them excited. I do find it, I mean, I'm not surprised by anything anymore. I could get very upset. I could say, how the hell did we let this happen? How did we get to a point where we are at the precipice of such a dark period? And I've always felt that we were living in a very unique time in our nation's history. But I also believe that the danger of this moment is greater than people are recognizing. I think that people are way too comfortable being that we're in the United States, that this can't possibly get redirected here. Who's to say that it can't? Who's to say that this thing doesn't boil over into something very dangerous? If I ever see Evan Ross, I'm going to pound him into the pavement so hard, I don't know if I'll be able to stop. This motherfucker was going on Instagram constantly talking about how we must attack Iran. What the fuck are you going to do, you cuck pussy motherfucker? I was at an event once with him, and I was looking at Jen. I was like, I dare him to say anything to me. I'll go Irish on his ass in a way that he wouldn't even know. And you can always tell, the two of you know, you can always tell when somebody's never been in a fight or has never properly had their ass kicked. Guy walking around with that fucking dog tag about the hostages. Do you know there's over 10,000 Palestinian hostages, but you're bitching about your 40 and they're not even American hostages. These are Israeli hostages. So you can see where their loyalties truly lie. It is not with us. And this is why I don't do religion. It's not that I don't believe in a higher power. It's that religion will do this to you. If you're a Catholic or any other denomination and you don't make religion your own, you cannot verbatim do what they ask you to do, because they're asking you to do stuff that was done thousands of years ago. Worlds change. That doesn't mean that the existence of God isn't real. But there is something to be said for people who believe that the word of God is real and it supersedes everything else. And that can be used as a weapon, which is what they've been doing. And they will continue to do it until we stop them. So that's on us now. That is on us to continue to get this message out there, that this will not be tolerated. We don't stand with this. We are never going to stand with this again. It's time. It's time, because now it's really going to get serious. The fastest way to get this fucking country into shape, reinstate the draft. You want to see just how fast this country will shit bricks and piss blood like Evan Ross? How about we draft your ass? Let's put you over there. I'm going to send your ass to Tehran in a box. Maybe you'll be able to hack it. Maybe you won't.
But isn't that what you're talking about, Peter? Like you're saying, do people really support this? I think what you're saying is, if there's a draft and you have to get over there, all of a sudden there's no support.
Everything
even
changes.
Be there.
Yep.
Then it gets real. Then you find out how tough you really are, because you ain't tough. Let me assure you, I have been around a good friend who was a lieutenant, who was in Baghdad, and I know he did some really horrible shit. And I was out with him one night, and he got really drunk, and I thought he and his former comrade I thought they were going to kill each other. And I got in the middle of it, and my friend, who's a big guy, he reared back and he gave me his best punch, and he hit me right here on the jaw, and I didn't move. So for any of you out there who talk big, who really think you're tough, you ain't fucking tough. You're not. You just talk big behind a screen. And I don't do this for a living. I do this because I fucking care about the world. I care about people that are weaker than I am, who can't defend themselves against fuckheads like Evan Ross and everyone else out there who has brought us to this point. Evan Ross, if I ever fucking see you, dude, if I ever fucking see you, you better run.
Calling him
if
out.
I'm in your presence.
Well, 2 points, Peter. As you mentioned, I do believe if your religion turns a blind eye to genocide, to mass murder, you don't believe in anything, you know? And as you pointed out earlier as well, if we think that if we had voted for Kamala, that this would not be the outcome, going back to all the previous Democrat presidents, it would have been the same. I just thought, given the uncertainty and the volatility of Trump, that we had a little bit more time. And I can't believe the day's here. And now we're going to see what happens. This weekend is, I think a lot is going to be revealed in the next 48 to 72 hours.
I think it goes without saying that we don't really know the full scope of the significance of Elon Musk making the statement that he made the other day about Trump being in the Epstein files, whether it was true or not. The statement got redacted almost immediately, and now we are here. There are people in very high places that will send us into a world war to protect themselves from exposure to God knows what shit they've been involved in for the longest time. I still want to know, going back to 9/11, who invested or who sold off their billions and billions of stock options on United and American Airlines 3 days before 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know who did that, because somebody knew something was coming.
Yep.
Would you like to close with a fun little topic before we depart for the evening?
Let's do it.
Sure.
Are there Israelis across the river in New Jersey celebrating very jubilantly during the attack of the towers, holding up a lighter in front and being photographed with the burning building behind him? And all of this exposed when the FBI found them later and arrested them and held them and questioned them for 75 days until Chertoff, the Attorney General under Bush, let them go and fly back to Israel. And what?
Why would you do that?
Yep.
Everybody's been talking about the dancing Israelis since that day. They tried unsuccessfully to say that it was dancing Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
But as it turns out, these were dancing Israelis.
Yep. I did a deep dive on that. Somebody, I think it was the guy Max Nordu or whatever, they on X tried to challenge me on the dancing Israelis. You know what they tried to say about that is that they weren't literally dancing, that they were just celebrating. So that they try to use that distinction to debunk the whole thing. But once you go down that, if you have not gone down that kind of rabbit hole, I highly recommend it.
There's a lot of, what's funny is that we're going over the 2-hour mark now on the podcast, and there's probably like 3 or 4 other stories that we could cover. I mean, obviously right now this is the topic of our time, and it is extremely important that we cover it. But there are so many layers to this. That's what I think scares people. People just want to live simple lives, maybe raise a family, take a couple of vacations a year, raise kids healthy, successful, etc. People don't want to be troubled by the fact that our nation is not what it once was, and that it's now being blown up in people's faces in a way that's making them extremely uncomfortable. Well, I think all 3 of us have probably lived uncomfortably a time or two. I lived in the Bronx for a couple of years. I didn't have anything. I lived in a room with a mattress on the floor and a folding chair to put my computer on. And that's it. I hung my clothes on a windowsill. I mean, I have lived in poverty. I have eaten in poverty. I've experienced what real hardship is like. And if you haven't experienced that, you can never teach it. You can't share it in a way that a person who hasn't could ever understand. And we are a spoiled country in a lot of ways. We have a lot of problems, but the people that have benefited from this country being the way that has worked in their favor, the level of selfishness and outright naivete about the realities of the world and the things that people have to go through on a daily basis. It's not that I don't think people care. I think people do care. It's just they've got too much going on to really worry about these types of things. And the system is designed in a way to make it so that that's the case. Waking up every day wondering, all right, is my job safe? Am I going to eat the right foods today, etc.? All these things come to mind. And then all of a sudden you've got this world war or God knows what else going on in the background. And you're thinking, I'd like to help, but how the hell can I? I don't have time for this.
Yep. And we didn't even get into the topic of what the next generation looks like here in America with the food and, you know, the water and the environment, these instruments of mass distraction, the way that things are designed. When I look at my siblings, you know, the scrolling culture, just creating an attention deficit, psychological, you know, with the chronic disease and autism in the younger generation. And are they going to be the ones that are paying into our Social Security and taking care of us when we're retired? Like, there is so much at stake here. There are so many things that we can add to and we can discuss tonight, domestically and internationally, that really gets us to the conclusion of we really don't know what the future holds, and you have to lean on something that is superior to just this world. And this is where, like I said, I have found my peace in prayer, in making sure my conscience is clear, and doing the things that a young man must do for his wife and for his family. At the end of the day, that's really the most we can do. And then, of course, get the word out and talk about these things and reach out to as many people as possible. I remember when you just told me the generational change just as a concept, as an idea, and look where we are today. You know, I'm very proud of you, Peter, for always sticking with it, for never, ever just, 1 year of doing this, I think I'm done. 2 years of doing this, we had a good run. You're still going at it, brother. And I respect you for that. The path to victory is consistency. And we just got to keep going, pushing through the mud.
Thank you, sir. Let's finish it up.
Did they say on the news in Israel? They were there to document the event. He says, we were there to document the event. Well, wait a minute. Did you know the event was coming?
Shows they at least knew it was either involved or they knew.
Seems pretty crystal clear to me that 9/11 was an inside job and that Israel had a heavy hand in it.
Yep, and you can't really talk about it.
Yep.
That's the other part about it.
But haven't we learned, Osiris, that when it's something that you're not supposed to talk about, then that is the third rail, and that's where the truth lies.
Yep. Yep. And that's why I respect the courage from you and Jen and many others. You might think that there's nothing we can do, and I would say that is the black pill. I'd never be black pilled. As far as black pill means pessimistic, basically. Just you can put your drop of water in the ocean, and it can mean something along with a bunch of other ones. But I think that every little drop matters.
Last clip before we call it a night.
Albert Einstein was once asked to be the president of Israel in 1952, and he refused. Here's why. In 1948, in a letter to the New York Times, Einstein, along with 28 other members of the Jewish community, stated that the Israeli political party closely resembles the Nazis and fascist parties in their ideologies and methods. In the letter, they condemned the Zionist militia's massacre in Deir Yassin, saying that they should have felt shameful. But there's much more. 10 years before the letter, Einstein once said that a Jewish state with borders and an army to protect those borders goes against the religion of Judaism. Even America at the time, Secretary of State George Marshall opposed recognizing the state of Israel. In a 1938 speech, Einstein said, "I should much rather see reasonable agreement with the Arabs on the basis of living together in peace than the creation of a Jewish state."
1938. This was even before World War II started. But Einstein, perhaps the most influential Jewish person who ever lived, made this statement. And I would dare say that it is as powerful then as it is today, but probably as relevant today as it could ever be. Zionism, especially in the United States, has a very effectively swept aside this idea that there is a difference between Zionism and Judaism. And I think because it's gone on for so long, they've been able to get away with it. How we put an end to it, I don't know, but we have to keep trying. I think that is the greatest lesson here. How do we continue to effectively get that message out there? Now, I think it's much more effective when people like Jen are, espousing that message. Dave Smith is espousing that message. Norman Finkelstein is espousing that message, because you do need prominent members of the Jewish community to be speaking up. And there's way too many of them that know what's going on right now, and they have remained silent. There is a code of silence that exists, and we've seen it in different situations, in different cultures over many years, where people feel the need to protect their own, even if they know that they're wrong. We've seen what's happened in certain Latino communities when it comes to illegal immigrants. We saw what happened in the Black community, particularly with the O.J. Simpson case. And we are seeing this now in the face of a much greater problem, which of course is a literal genocide coupled with a potential third world war, because there is a substantial portion of the Jewish population in this country who does not agree with what's going on, yet they refuse to speak out against fellow Jews because they see it as somewhat of a third rail, a non-starter. We simply can't go there. Well, how are you going to feel when people are getting drafted into war? Iran is no joke. Turkey is no joke. And if they get backed up by China or Russia or both, what if BRICS backs Iran? What then? What if India, Brazil, South Africa, what if they all line up against us because we can't stop supporting Israel?
Well, Russia has to back Iran. I know Russia's kind of in the middle because they're not totally against Israel, but I mean, that's where they're getting their drones from, is Iran, I believe.
Yeah.
For the Ukraine assault. So they can't ruin the relationship with Iran. That's for sure.
Very dangerous and troubling times, gentlemen. What a perfect evening to bring you on. Ozma and Sari, a tremendous supporter of Jen and just an amazing person. Great show today, Peter. Love your guests. We love you too, Ozma. We appreciate you being here, inshallah. Dave L., thank you so much for the $5. I said a bunch of mean stuff on Cory Booker's YouTube channel. Hope that helps.
That's the drop in the ocean.
There you go.
If you guys are looking for a really fun time here in South Florida, the Democratic Party yearly gala is taking place at the Hard Rock in not this weekend, but the following weekend. And who do you think is the keynote speaker of that wonderful event? None other than Mr. Zionist himself, Cory Booker. So think about maybe attending. Just happen to be going to the casino for a little bit of fun. Maybe you find your way into that big auditorium. Maybe you might have a Free Palestine shirt underneath. Make it interesting. Yalabai, thank you so much for the $1.99. Alex Karp is a sellout to the Black community. Alex Karp is half Black. A lot of people don't know that.
Really?
What? Mm-hmm. He's half Black.
I never knew that.
Yep.
What? I mean, not that it changes anything. I'm just like, I had no idea.
You wouldn't know it by looking at the guy, but no, that's what he is.
Wow.
Jessica Mai, great to see you. Thank you for the $4.99. Israel struck Iran. It's reported now. Middle MAGA, do you have a new channel? Miss your shows.
Yes, it's Index Red. So at Index Red. And it's the same channel. I just changed the name. I just couldn't do the MAGA thing anymore. It's just, So I'm Index Red.
Excuse me, you're a total loser. MAGA's forever. You can't leave. Once you're in, there's a reason it's red, because it's blood. Blood in, blood out. That's the only way it works.
Sorry, Trump. It's over, bro.
No, there is no sorry. I don't accept.
Iranian kiddo, and again, best to your family. $4.99. There are 200,000 Armenian Orthodox Christians in Iran. Not Iran for sure. We love the Armenians. We could have. We're not doing it tonight, but we could have talked about Patrick Bet David. That could have been an interesting conversation.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Yeah. Next time. We should do this again. The three of us should do this. And Jen, I'm sure would love to have you guys on. Anyways,
there's a couple of topics that popped up in my head while we were talking.
Yeah, 100%.
Go back to
Mark J. Thank you for the $2. Great panel and discussion. Thank you. Cyan, thank you again for the $5. The corpse of John McCain spotted dancing over his own grave, celebrating the war Iran has started. As much as I hate to laugh, it's probably true too. Eden, thank you so much for the $4.99. They just attacked Iran. It appears to be so. Sailor Jerry Swallow, thank you for the $2 Canadian A. Israel attacks Iran. It is on now. It is on now. There is no question. It is very much on, and it is very much going to be a very dangerous situation that is only going to be heightened. But as you guys know, we don't do this for a living. We do this because we care. We do this because we want to get the message out there. Otherwise, we would be broadcasting every day, but we don't. We hope you get your fill. There's going to be a lot of wonderful clips that will come from this. If those of you that are watching on Index Red, please subscribe to Generational Change, smash that like button, share, and make sure that you click the bell. And if you guys are so inclined, make sure, if you are not following Osiris over on X, follow Index X Red TV and make sure that you follow his work. I think I have inspired Osiris to get back in the game. So hopefully some more live streams will come about. And of course, Anthony, it is always a pleasure, brother. Please say hello to your lovely queen from Jen and I, as well as the family. We certainly hope everybody's doing well. Even though we don't get to see each other that often, it is always a pleasure to talk to you. And as well as you, Osiris, I think this has been not just a great conversation, but a conversation that flowed. It flowed very seamlessly. It didn't have any dead spots. I think we hit the topics that needed to be hit this evening. Any last words from either of you before you depart?
It's always great. You have one of the best audiences out there. So fair, so involved. Thank you to everybody. Appreciate it.
Osiris, it's a pleasure meeting you. Peter, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to the next conversation. Let's go Mets.
You got a real shot, brother. Unfortunately, you took full advantage of Osiris's Rockies. He's out in Colorado, so you got to take the wins where you could get them. But yeah, Pete Alonso and Aaron Judge, definitely a little New York sparring action going back and forth this year. It's a lot of fun.
Take care, guys.
Appreciate you, gentlemen.
Peace.
So that was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I don't know what's going to happen now. I really don't. I can't even say that there's anything to be optimistic about in this moment because obviously it's way too early. I do believe that Trump is going to have to issue a statement and issue it quickly in terms of what's going on. I would like to think that there is a demand to not have a war, to not have endless war, or dare I say, a world war. Yes, Tony, I do. But a righteous one, for the right reasons. My greatest fear is that people are still too complacent. Will it stay that way? I don't know. I want to believe that it won't. I do think people have been fed up with what's going on, but now things get real. They get very real. Iran is not going to back down. They are going to respond. And frankly, I don't care how badly they respond. Israel has it coming. They've had it coming for a long time, and they are going to pay dearly for thinking that our nation is their bitch, even though we have been their bitch for a very long time. And again, all of it is tied to corporate special interests. Never forget, there is $500 billion worth of natural gas under Gaza's soil. There is also 25 miles worth of potential real estate redevelopment along the Mediterranean coastline in Gaza. That's trillions upon trillions of dollars. That's all this has ever been about. That's all these things are ever about. So, will there be some type of significant change that is going to happen in the next, 72 hours before we're on the air again, I honestly don't know what to think, guys. I just think in times where we need great leadership, and there seldom seems to be any, I'm not counting on Trump having an epiphany moment at the 11 o'clock hour saying, we will not support this. We are backing off. Israel, you're on your own, or stop what you're doing right now, or Israel, you're on your own. Thank you for that information, Brett. I could certainly, I'm happy to do a clip on that as well. All the information that we try to provide you guys, we try to make as useful as possible. Our intention is to continue to put forth a message that helps. That's our goal. That is what Transforming Politics in the Service is all about. If you guys are here and you haven't subscribed, we are 163 subscribers away from 28,000. We passed 27,000 just a few days ago. Monday. I mean, we are really growing fast. Kay Biscaro, thank you so much for that information. The Settlers is a documentary that I haven't seen yet, but I would highly recommend that you check it out. I think I'm going to do that myself. I'm going to get those clips up as soon as possible. Yes, Tony, Jen would go on with Piers Morgan. We have not gotten the invite yet, but we certainly would like to if that opportunity is presented. Reason to Resist with Dimitri Lasarkas. That is very good info, and we really appreciate it. And so, yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed. And the BB files, we're going to have to cover that one. Colin, if you can make note of that, the BB files. Kat, I want us to get to 30K before Jen appears on the podcast again. I think we can do it. It's a long shot, but heck, if anything is possible, you guys have all been doing an amazing job helping spread the word. It is incredible how far we have come. It really is. And it is a testament to the consistent support from all of you guys, from Kat, from Schultz, from Sunny FX, from Travers, to Henry Kajawa, to Tony D, to Jessica Mai, to Brett Boyle, to Teresa, to Harachnu. You guys, the whole crew. But then we have new people. Piana Genesis, Dave Nathan, Man Called Clay. Rachel, of course, great to see you. Peace Dove has been with us. Cape Sin is new. We have a whole new audience here. I think so too, Vicky. I think it is absolutely possible. Bessie, cute picture, by the way. Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like they're being attacked right now. Yes, Irene. And of course, we have collaborated with Keaton and Russell over at Due Dissonance. They have achieved a great milestone recently, got to 100,000 subscribers. Our friend Savvy Sabs is at 200,000 subscribers. But we have some really great supporters that are out there that are doing a great job. On Monday, we will have our OG, Steve Grumbine, will be our primary guest. I'm also going to try to get Tina Desiree Berg from Status Quo to hop on as well, considering what she just dealt with over in LA. And then on Thursday, we're going to have at least Kit Cabello from Hard Lens Media. And then the following Monday, Jen will be back and we will have our first podcast as a new rebranded channel. And our special guest will be Norman Finkelstein. So with that said, smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things that we ask you to do. Stay safe out there. As tough as it is, we're going to get through this, guys. Keep fighting the good fight and free Palestine. We'll see you Monday.